welcome to another episode of Three Conservative Gimps, where we give you information to make good choices. So sit right back. We've got a special show for you. We got a guest all the way from Michigan. We'll bring him up momentarily. Let's bring in my co-host all the way from New York. But before I do, I just want to send out my prayers to Judy Mendenhall. She's having some difficulties, so Lloyd won't be joining us tonight. So get well soon, Judy. So let's get going. He's always in charge, and it's Charles in charge.
Hey,
welcome,
everybody.
welcome. Good to see you.
Same here. First, let me say, prayers to Judy. Hope whatever she's got, whatever issue she's dealing with, that it's resolved well and soon.
Right. Good. So let's jump right in it. We only have Thaddeus for about 30 minutes, and maybe if we're lucky, maybe he'll stick around a little longer. So let's welcome our guest, former U.S. Congressman from Michigan, former presidential candidate. And let's listen to the dulcet tones of Thaddeus McCotter.
Hey, Art. Hey, Charles. Thanks for having me back.
Hey, Thaddeus.
Sorry to hear about Judy. My thoughts and prayers for her and Lloyd to get through this difficult time. Also, I saw that on Facebook that you got a fish hook in the eye, Art.
Oh, that was meant for you. That's like a
That's not a fish hook in the eye. What happened?
So, a lot going on. A lot of really crazy stuff going on with these wacky Democrats. Number one, we've got a governor in New Mexico who said, states can suspend the First and Second Amendment when there is an emergency. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Thaddeus?
Well, I think that what you're going to continue to see is the Democrats having used the COVID-19 pandemic to implement a lot of policies that ordinarily they would not have through the emergency orders. I think you're going to continue to see that. You're going to continue to see them being tempted to use any pretext for invoking emergency powers. If I was in New Mexico, I'd be very upset, whether I was a Republican or a Democrat, that one individual could take it upon themselves to suspend an act of the legislature and to basically use the emergency powers, which are in place for specific and legitimate reasons, to put them through for capricious and arbitrary reasons, which then makes it very difficult for people to have any faith that when a true emergency comes, that they would be, that her or any other governor would be acting in the best interest of the citizens rather than trying to implement their own personal policy agenda. It's very disturbing, but we're going to continue to see this, especially as many of the Democratic governors that implemented, and some Republicans that implemented their own COVID-19 policies, extended that emergency leave longer than it was necessary, or imposed harsher restrictions and rules than were necessary in the lockdowns, got away with it, got reelected. So you know what happens when you reward bad behavior, you're just going to get more of it. And here we go.
Yep, that's true. And speaking of bad behavior, Colorado, and along with several other states, are trying to use the 14th Amendment to keep Trump off the ballot. They've got a lawsuit going to try to keep him off the ballot. And here's my deal. Colorado is a blue state. Trump lost twice in Colorado. It's like, why? He is not going to get any electoral votes here in Colorado. So what's the point? Is it symbolic? Is it just another ploy at using, try to grasp power to hold on to?
Well, it's what the left wing has done in places like Latin America and others. They did it also with Berlusconi over in Italy. They're using the power of the courts to persecute their political opponents. They will continue to do it. It drains resources from the Trump campaign to even have to fight these abjectly political policies to try to get them off the ballot. We saw this with Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia, where they tried to get her off the ballot by invoking similar stretches of the law, which were unsuccessful. But what the Democrats hope to do is drain resources from the Trump campaign. They also hope to tarnish him further in the eyes of other states' voters, which may be in more swing states, such as Arizona, Georgia, and other places. And also they can use it, if it's successful, they can try to cite it as precedent in other court cases in other states. So for them, it's a very low-risk strategy on their part. But again, it's the politicizing of justice. And sooner or later, the American people, especially the independents, have got to realize that you cannot have a two-tier justice system in the United States, or eventually it's going to bite everybody. And it's ironic that the Democrats still haven't understood that when you put a tool like this on the table and it is allowed to remain on the table, the other party's eventually going to get back in power and use it against you. Yep. So it's unfortunate that the radical, extreme, and dangerous wing of the Democratic Party is having its way right now, because it's going to boomerang not only on their supposed enemies, but upon themselves. And as we all know from studying history, every revolution, the more extreme elements eventually turn inward and start utilizing those tools on each other. Right. So for their own self-defense, I think they should really take a step back, take a deep breath, and go, do we really want to do this? It could come back and bite us. And generally it does.
Charles, you got anything?
Well, just like Thaddeus said, these people are going to turn on themselves. Well, that's already happening. Not necessarily in the legal arena, but in the social arena. We see that now more and more often as, the woke left are turning on each other because nobody's perfect enough for this little subsect of, whatever ideology. In terms of Trump, I don't know. I hope it fails. Nothing against you, Art, but I hope you're incorrect. Not necessarily that I'm a Trumpite or anything like that. I am all in favor of the truth, though. I am all in favor of fairness. I am all in favor of things being right, and that's what so if that lawsuit goes down the drain, hopefully that'll bring us one step closer to something resembling something better and more correct and more right and more truthful.
Well, what we're not seeing too, Charles, is we've seen the two-tier justice system, the politicizing of justice here. When you're looking at the emails that are coming about Joe Biden, you would think that the Colorado Democrats would be rather upset about the fact that Mr. Biden seems to have been participating and lying about his participation with his son's financial dealings. That you could look at a president of the United States who could very well have used his office when he was vice president to have tried to feather his own nest, or certainly the nest of his own son, by influence peddling. There's clear evidence of that in those emails. Again, everybody's innocent until proven guilty, but they don't seem to be upset about this at all, that you have a president of the United States compromised by foreign entities, especially when that's right, we are funding to the tunes of tens of billions of dollars war in the Ukraine to defend the Ukraine against Putin's aggression. I hope the Ukraine wins, but let's also take a look at some of the dealings that Mr. Biden and his family have had, not only in the Ukraine, but also with the Chinese and others. So if you really want to look at it, Mr. Trump is not in office. I would think that they would be at least as concerned about the behavior of a president and the potential of a president of the United States to be compromised while currently holding office and proposing policies and implementing policies that may actually have been compromised by some of America's enemies. I'm not saying that's the case, but we should at least be worthy of investigation and certainly worthy of concern, even by his own supporters.
You are correct, Thaddeus. However, these people, the sort of things, the sort of corruption that you're talking about is what these people want. On some level, this is what they want, because that brings them, satisfies their self-righteousness if they bring the system down.
To a certain extent,
if America collapses, that suits their purpose.
Well, I don't know if they want it to collapse. I think they want to fundamentally transform it with themselves on the top, basically inverting the pyramid and putting everybody else underneath their progressive policies. So they still need at least the physical structure of the United States, the governmental structure, to remain in place. They just want to run it. And twist some of the foundations of it to suit their purposes. But in the final analysis, I think that not all Democrats are progressives, and generally a lot of the Democrats, especially normal Democrats, don't want to appear that they were so wrong about having supported Biden. Because if you think about it, they spend much of their time loathing Donald Trump, and there's some Republicans who do that too. But in the final analysis, that doesn't mean that you can't loathe Joe Biden either for doing the exact same things that you thought Donald Trump might have done. You should oppose it in both instances where it is legitimate and recognize the fact that, hey, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So if you were fooled by Mr. Biden the first time, that doesn't mean that you feel any shame at this point in time in recognizing the fact, hey, you fooled me, man, but not again. And there's some Trump supporters that feel that way after 2020. That's fine too. But in the final analysis, it's got to be even-handed, or otherwise you are what you claim to despise. You are a rabid partisan that cares more about party than country.
Yep. Yeah, it's exactly. But it just seems like with the Democrats, because they are collectivists, that they support each other, and that's why they'll put up with something that Biden is doing, but it's like, oh, we can't have Trump. He's way bad.
Well, there's a paranoia there, and there's also the collectivist attitude. So the paranoia comes from the fact that I think that there's a sense, as Charles kind of alluded to, that so many of the contradictions within the left-wing policies generally tend over time to fold in on themselves. They're non-supportable. There's so many contradictions to it. And the fact that they don't work is one of the largest problems that they have. So they're afraid that if they show any signs that Mr. Biden may not be everything they claimed he was back in the 2020 election, that somehow the entire edifice of their progressive movement is going to collapse in and on itself. It's probably going to happen regardless. These types of movements generally do. The other part of it is that the collectivization part of it is they thrive so much on external validation. One of the fundamental differences I tend to see in the parties is conservatives especially are more than happy to go it alone and face the wrath of the world. I think as Emerson once said, if a man stands on his principles and then abides, the whole huge world round will come round to him. So I think conservatives are much more likely to do that, although in the instances of the Trump movement, we see less of that than we have in the past. But for Democrats, it's generally been consistent that, especially on the far left, they need that external validation, and they're very afraid to come out and risk the wrath of it. Because again, think of where cancel culture started. It started from the left.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and to top it off is I don't think Harris is going to be the VP for very long. At least not if Biden runs in 24. I think who's going to replace her is going to be Jared Polis, governor of Colorado, because he'll be term limited. And he'll be kind of the firewall to show, hey, we got some reasonable people, someone with the brain cell that doesn't come out and speak in a word salad. And it adds credibility to Biden. And then if something were to happen to Biden, if they actually won, that he will step in and replace Biden, whether it's the 25th Amendment or, I hate to say this, his demise in office due to his advanced age and failing mental capacity. Because Polis wants to be president. He's wanted to be president for the last 30 plus years. He's fought every seat he's run for. And he's going to work his way into the Biden administration somehow. And he will be the vice president. And God forbid something happens to the president. He takes over and he becomes the first openly gay president of the United States. And you've worked with him for a brief period there. So.
For a brief period in the House, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I'm not worried. I mean, it's to a certain extent, much of the talk about what may or may not happen is really kind of irrelevant. I do think Biden won't be their nominee. I just don't think, I think that's too big of a bridge to cross for them. I think most Democrats don't want him to run, but they're resigned to him running. That doesn't do well for their turnout model. They need Trump to run. They need Republicans to think Biden will be the nominee, because that'll give us a chance to think, well, maybe we can win this. We recreate 2020. This time we can pull it off. I think the big problem right now is for Republicans to understand that right now in the swing states with independent voters, Donald Trump is anathema. They do not like him. They do not like his candidates. And if we nominate Donald Trump, it's going to help the left greatly. And it's exactly what they want. And the left is doing everything they can to facilitate Donald Trump being our nominee. In fact, even indicting him has the effect that it makes him a martyr in Republican eyes and makes it very difficult for Republicans to say, well, I don't want to turn my back on him now after what the Democrats have done. There are some things that, granted, Mr. Trump is being persecuted, but some of it he's brought on himself too. And some of it he's brought into his own administration with some of his terrible appointments. I mean, Rod Rosenstein and Chris Wray were Trump appointees. I mean, let's not forget that. I mean, those types of things. But in the final analysis, what really matters is for the right not to so much focus on the left, but to make sure, is Donald Trump the best candidate we can put up forward, not only because we like him, but can he win? Because remember, you've got right now, the only thing that really stands between us is what, 9 or 8 House members and the Supreme Court, which is 6-3. And a lot of those people are in their mid 70s, if not older. And you're looking at an instance where another 4 to 8 years of a Democratic president could have major consequences policy-wise to the United States. It'll take generations to change. And that's what's riding in 2024.
Now, you brought up a point about age. Pelosi is running again in 24. She is.
Yeah, but not for speaker. Yeah.
No, but
you said Pelosi.
She's running for re-election for Congress. And, I mean, we need more geriatric candidates in Congress.
Well, I don't live there. I don't vote there. That's not my representative. So that's up to the people of her district to decide whether they want to do that.
Right.
I mean, I respect the fact that we are elected by districts. I understand the constitutional reason for it. So that's up to them. I don't live in California, so I don't vote on Newsom. I don't vote on Feinstein. I don't vote on any of that. So I live in Michigan. I got my hands full here.
Right.
So that's really up to them. And so when a lot of the Republicans, they start looking around, I mean, look, you can think locally or think globally all you want, think nationally, but you better act locally. So if you don't like your member of Congress, you might as well start at home then, and start to worry about whether you like the one you've got and try to change that. So I don't worry about it. If they want to send her back, they'll send her back, and that's their decision to make. I'm not Bloomberg with a bunch of money. I'm going to stick in dark money places and try to buy elections throughout the United States. I think that's wrong. I think it subverts the Constitution.
Right.
It subverts the whole concept of election by district representing the community of interest from which you come. But I guess that's why I'm not Bloomberg. That's why I'm not a Democrat. It might also be why I'm not a billionaire spending dark money all over the place. Well, that and I'm broke. But other than that, there's.
Well, and Soros as well. He's the one that's propping up these leftist attorney generals all over the country.
Yeah, and you're right. But look, in the final analysis, if you can convince people that what they're doing is not the way to go, then you'll win elections. Right. And all the money in the world will not change the mind of somebody who realizes it's a bad idea. So we have to articulate our message and get there. And if we don't, we can complain about Soros, we can complain about Bloomberg, we can complain about everything. But if we don't get our message out, it's going to be a problem. That's why the real war, well, there's many wars, there's many battles, but the big war is for free speech and the freedom of conscience, which is the left is absolutely under attacking every single day, because they want to make sure that you can't express yourself, and B, they want to be able to tell you what to think and what you can't think about in this country, and that's the big problem right now. If you get your message out there, again, it's like Charles said, the internal contradictions, they don't want you pointing out the contradictions of the fact that progressive policies don't work, because they know that in their heart of hearts, they know it, which is why they want to curtail your speech. Look, if they were right and everything was going great, they wouldn't care what you say, would they?
That's right. All they have to do is suffer under, a term or two under a leftist AG that allows crime to run rampant, just like here in Colorado. We are number 1 or number 2 in auto thefts, and we're right up there with property crimes. And I mean, it's just our homeless problem is just out of control. We're becoming just like San Francisco. Within a span of 10 years, it's gone from, well, we've had a few encampments here and there, and now it's like there's camps all over the place.
I was out in D.C. recently for a policy conference, and because when we were out there as members of Congress, you spend all your time at the Capitol meeting constituents, going to committee meetings, voting on the floor. So you really don't get out and around very much, because I didn't live there. I live outside Detroit, so I come home every weekend. So I really didn't get a chance to walk around a whole lot, but a little bit. So I said, well, I'm out here for this conference. I might as well take a nice little stroll. It's about 8:30 at night. It's still daylight out. So it was, and I went further than you ordinarily would, when I was in Congress. I didn't have to come back to vote or anything like that at time. And you could see the homeless. You could see people asking for help. You could see people sleeping on the street. And then I turned around, I looked at the Capitol, and I thought to myself, there's only something. My God, we are $37 trillion in debt, and we still have people sleeping on the street. What the hell did we spend all the money on?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about that. It's not that just that you're $37 trillion in debt and more. It's then why are there people still sleeping on the street?
Mm-hmm.
Where the hell did the money go?
It went to the bureaucracy that runs the government.
And then, if you take a drive further down the street, maybe head a little northwest of where I was, you could see all these multi-million-dollar houses. And you say, you're right, Art, that's where the money went. Mm-hmm. It went into the bureaucrats and the lobbyists and everybody else. Now, granted, some of it went into roads, things like that, but $37 trillion, you juxtapose the people that I saw walking around by the Capitol sleeping on the street, and then you see the rich people out there who live off the government, who live off of either in it, around it, whatever, facilitating expenditures of your money to their pals, living in the $1 million houses. Now you know why you got a $37 trillion deficit and debt, and you've got huge problems, and which is why the social safety net is going to continue to fray as the interest payments on that start to crowd out even entitlement funding down the road.
Right.
And the Democrats are running around saying, look, we spent on this, we invested. You didn't invest, you spent, and you still got people sleeping on the street. Tell me how that's a good thing.
Yep.
But that's like Charles said. That's why they don't want you to have freedom of speech, because God forbid you point that out to somebody and they go, oh my God, you're right. The hell did they spend the money on? In fact, it's our money. Right. What'd you spend our money on? Mm-hmm. I don't mind helping people, but you didn't even do that. You helped yourself.
Democrats, they like big government because those people in government, they donate to Democrats. So it's like a vicious cycle. the government gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then that money goes in the government, get back into the pockets of the Democrats, and then they get elected, and then they sent more money to the bureaucracy, and
you give the money to the left-wing organization. The left-wing organization puts a tithing on it to get you all reelected. You appropriate more money to keep the spin cycle going. And you also got Republicans that do that don't care. They'll give it to Democrats. They'll give it to anybody. That keeps their lobbying thing going. I mean, so it's not just the Democrats. If it was just the Democrats, maybe it'd be a $20 trillion deficit. but it's over $37 trillion. It's probably higher than that by now. But the problems remain. The social problems remain. I mean, if you just took $10 trillion and just handed it to everybody in the United States and said, okay, nobody's poor anymore. Okay. $37 trillion. And so what the hell is going on here? You idiots couldn't even spend the money to stop people sleeping on the street. How many trillions of dollars do we got to spend now to stop that?
Yep.
Because a lot of those people are there because of mental illness and other things. They're not just there because they want to be. So if we are a compassionate country, if we are a caring country, then you should be upset that $37 trillion has been spent. You're heavily in debt. And they're still worse off. They're worse off than they were before we even decided you pretend to help them.
Yeah, I'm a baby boomer, and I come from a generation where, we had a work ethic. We had, we have this instinctive thing for trying to make something, rather than just sitting there. And we don't, want praise. We want, to make something of ourselves and try to make our world a better place. Leave it better than it was when we were around. So.
Well, Art, I got to run, but I just want to add this. Okay. And I'll be more than happy to come back again if you'll have me. But two things. One, my best to Lloyd and Judy again. Hope she's feeling better. But when I say that we're $37 trillion in debt and there's still people sleeping on the street, that's in addition to everything else we've already spent. Okay, so it's not just $37 trillion we spent. That's $37 trillion in debt on top of everything else they spent. That's just the $37 trillion we couldn't afford. Really? Really? Look, if you spent your money the way the federal government spends your money, you wouldn't get reelected. You get incarcerated. All right, guys.
All right, thanks for coming, Thaddeus. Always a pleasure having you. And have a great weekend, and we'll catch you next time.
Go Lions.
Take care, Thaddeus.
Yep.
Take care, Charles.
Wow, that was great. It's always a treat having Thaddeus, and too bad Lloyd couldn't be here. Boy, I think Lloyd would have a lot of fun.
Yes.
He always is the chatterbox with Thaddeus. So, yeah, I mean, he makes good points. We're $37 trillion in debt, and we still have this homeless problem. So,
yeah, because first off, spending any amount of money on the homeless problem won't help. Because if you just give them the money, even if they do all the right things with it, then we're gonna have what we're already getting, which is ridiculous inflation. So
yeah, that's what we did with remember when they gave us $1,200 during the COVID thing? Because they shut down the economy. And because we had some Republicans who thought, we should shut down the economy. We need something to help these folks out who have been unemployed for 2 or 3 weeks, so we could get jumpstart the economy without realizing the impact of giving that money to people might cause inflation. And lo and behold, what happened? We got out of control inflation. Biden comes in, pumps even more money in. We got more free money. And what people do? They paid off their credit cards. They weren't consuming. They were just paying off debt. Now they're back to using those credit cards again.
Yep.
And we're starting that cycle all over again. I know, I got you at a loss of words.
You know, on that kind of thing, it's like, well, what else were we supposed to do? I mean, I in that instance, that was really, I feel we had our backs against the wall with the first wave of those stimulus checks.
Mm-hmm.
But what Thaddeus was kind of talking about is like, you know, well, there's no emergency or anything, so we're just going to give this money out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know a lot of people complained about that and said it was socialism, but what else were we supposed to do? If we didn't give these people this money, imagine how much more the economy would have collapsed.
Well,
I mean, even though we're probably, you know, would have gone for, you know, we lost so many small little mom and pop businesses and restaurants and things like that.
Yeah, that's right.
If that money didn't get out there, then, and I hate to sound like I'm defending them, but major companies like Walmart and Amazon and, you know, all these other big companies, they might have begun to shrink. They might have begun to,
mm-hmm.
you know, experience huge problems, you know, and then they would have, you know, they would have had to have laid off people. Amazon wouldn't have been able to bring, you know, some people were able to stay home and have Amazon deliver or have Instacart deliver. A lot of that might not have been able to been done. Now we couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out in a rural area, so we couldn't lock down. You know, nobody would deliver any. You know, they might deliver, a local restaurant might deliver a pizza to us, but
Mm-hmm.
I really don't think any of them have delivery. So we had to go shopping every week. We had to go out and, you know, be brave,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, and go out and do our grocery shopping every week because nobody delivers out here.
Well, and here's the other thing is I remember here there were a lot of shelves that were empty during that pandemic. So there were shortages. And then when the pandemic was over, a lot of companies were hurt because the supply chain got all jacked up. I mean, when I went back to the dental company, you know, we didn't have enough work because we didn't have the stainless steel to make the bands for the braces that we made. So that screwed us up. We didn't have stainless steel for the injection molding machine because we got to grind that up into, you know, like that wax, and that gets extruded into the molds. And then we take those parts and we bake them in an oven at, I don't know, a couple thousand degrees, or that wax comes off and we got a solid piece, and that's how we get some of our parts that go on the braces. So that was all jacked up. So to me, I think we should have treated it like it should have been just, it's the flu. It's very virulent and really deadly for people with compromised immune system. Some people with diabetes, high blood pressure, overweight. They're the ones that suffered. And then some of these states that thought, hey, let's put these people back into the nursing home. And then killed off a bunch of old people.
The worst thing in the world.
Yep.
Somebody
If we would
just recovered from this disease. Oh yeah, let's put them right back where they were.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, if we would just treated it like any other flu season, I think we'd be, I think the death toll would have gone up, but it wouldn't have been as bad
I
as
don't think it would have actually. I don't think it
yeah.
would have.
Mm-hmm. And I with Trump, I think he got some really bad advice,
Oh yeah.
and he was kind of put in the corner to where, okay, if I don't do this, then I'm a bad guy, and if I do this, then I'm screwed either way.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what hurt him in with his reelection, because he kind of came off as not really caring about what was going on, because the media, they were able to spin it in a way and start taking some of his words out of
Oh, they did
context.
that since they did that from day one.
Right. Oh, he wants to inject bleach into your veins. No, that's not what he
That's not
said.
even close to what he said.
No, I still have. I listen to the local conservative talk show, and I still hear people calling in that are Trump haters, left wingers, and they bring that up. Yeah, he wants to inject bleach in your bloodstream. And it's like, and the host has to explain.
No,
No, that's not what he said.
he didn't even say anything to the public. He was at the podium. Yes, he was at a hot mic, and he turned and was speaking with. It wasn't Fauci, but who was that? There was some woman there. What was her
Right?
name?
I forgot. Oh, was it Brit or Brett?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, something like that. And he asked her. He said, "Is there any way to inject that?" Because they were talking about some kind of disinfectant. They weren't talking about bleach. They were talking about some kind of disinfectant. And all
Oh
he did
yeah,
was
it was
ask a question.
ultraviolet
He
light.
asked a question. He didn't make a statement. He just
Mm-hmm.
asked a question
Mm-hmm.
on a hot mic. That was the worst thing that he did.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no this, and then there was a couple people who actually drank bleach or something, and then they said,
Yeah.
"Well, it's because Trump said to," and it's like, no, he didn't say to. If that was real, if that was legit, those people did that because some left-leaning news organization, read all of them, said that he did. They heard it on a left-leaning news organization
Mm-hmm.
and took it as gospel.
Right. Mm-hmm.
There's no way that you could watch that clip. Any reasonable person could watch that clip and think that Donald Trump was recommending that we inject bleach anywhere.
Yep. So,
and then there was the whole MS-13 thing, where they pulled out a clip of him saying that they're animals, and so they spun that to say that he was saying that about all Mexicans, all these immigrants. It's like, no, if you watch the whole clip, he was talking specifically about MS-13 gang members.
mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Prior to him, 2015, he was like the left's buddy. He was pals with Whoopi Goldberg, and NAACP gave him awards and accolades, and as soon as he came down that escalator, that's when he became a racist. Oh my God, they hated him. And then all during his presidency, you see these idiots like George. Oh God, who's that comedian that had that sitcom, that Hispanic guy.
George Lopez?
Yeah, he went out there with a pickaxe and was defacing Trump's star on the Walk
Oh,
of
was
Fame.
that him? I thought
Then
it was just
another
some
time
whack
he
job.
took a crap on it. Yeah.
I thought it was just some whack job that did that.
It might
Some
have been,
unknown figure.
but Lopez did take a dump on his star. Yeah. So, and then the hatred for the guy. And then all of a sudden, lawsuits against Trump University, and now they're scrutinizing his real estate deals in New York. He overinflated the value of properties. And it's like, that's how it's done. People have been doing that for hundreds of years. It's not a big, revelation. Maybe, I don't know how much he would overprice his property, but, that's just how real estate works.
Yeah, people paid it.
Mm-hmm.
If he overvalued the place and people paid it, then people paid it. If it wasn't really worth that much, people shouldn't have been paying that much money for it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they were. Yeah, when he got the COVID. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point, Michael. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Michael, Cool Cat, Mark R. White, also from England, Charles Skoleski. We've got Steve Knowles, also from England. Yeah, we're being, so England is supporting it. We got Ronnie, God bless America. And who else? That is it. So,
yeah, if there's anybody out there watching and hasn't said hi yet, say hi so we can say hello back.
Yeah. And I think
we're nice people. We're friendly.
Yeah. We got kind of a small crowd today because it is the start of the NFL season.
Yeah.
And hold on, I gotta refresh. You gotta be kidding. My Broncos lost to the Raiders. Home opener at in Power Field, Mile High. They lost to the Raiders 17-16.
Well, at least it was a tight game.
Yeah, they were ahead during the fourth quarter. And then about 5 minutes left, that's when the Raiders came back. Anyway. But hey, how about those Lions beating the Super Bowl champs on Thursday? Yep. So, also, wanted to talk about something, and this is kind of a Michigan thing, but turns out it's a hoax, because there's a hoax going around saying that there were some school districts in Michigan that were putting litter boxes in kids' bathrooms because for the ones who identify as animals, and it's believable because it sounds crazy, but it sounds believable.
We live in crazy times.
Yep. Mm-hmm. That's why when I heard that or I read that somewhere this past week, I thought, you gotta be kidding. School boards are, not school boards, but these school districts.
Yeah, because the school board has to approve, that kind of thing in the bathroom. They would have to approve for the janitor to go in and deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, supposedly the same thing is happening out in my neck of the woods. Nothing's been on the news about it, but apparently that's the word from people inside the school.
Mm-hmm. But on one hand, it may cause either a shortage or a big boon on sales of kitty litter. The school district. They're not just using that to put in the parking lot when it snows. Yeah. So, uh, boy, I hear this crazy stuff, and I'm like going. I think about my trip to the Philippines and how relaxed I was, and the stress just melted away. I'm like going, I need to go back. So, uh, I don't know if you heard, but last night on the show, might have been after the show, that kind of have a target year of 26 to move
Yeah,
out.
yeah, you did mention that at some point in time. I think it was during the
Right.
show. So
So right now, I'm got things in the background, irons, going. I can't say anything right now,
yep.
but I'm working on it to where, I have more than just. Well, I'm working on something that'll bring in multiple streams of income
Oh,
in,
cool.
so that, uh, like, that if something were to happen here in the state and my social security just goes away because company, the country goes toes up and they can't pay it. Then I'm not stuck and broke and can't feed my family because I don't have that income, and I gotta rely on my 401k. But I'm just trying to be forward thinking
Mm-hmm.
so that uh, when something happens to me, I could leave something for my kids and my family that'll help them out.
Cool.
Yeah. So, uh, that is what's been going on. So I've got 2 dates when I'll be going back in 24 just to visit for a
Mm-hmm.
while. I could go in February. I've been invited by a couple that I've known for several years. They're the ones that introduced me to my current girlfriend, and they invite me to come with them. Or I could wait a couple months and go like I did last year in late March, early April, and go out there for a couple. So, well, it'll be it'll be exciting to go back.
Yes.
Uh, Next time, I'll not only bring a drone, I'll bring some fishing equipment as well.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. I'll probably bring my Air 2 and use that. I think I'll get better cinematic footage than the Avata. Avata was fun to fly out there. It's a lot more portable. But you know what? With the Air 2, I got that little case. I could stick that in
Yeah.
my suitcase and just put my camera gear and stuff in my backpack. Backpack.
Well, cool. That
Yeah.
sounds like you've got a plan.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's excellent.
So right now it is cloudy and it's looking like it's trying to rain. We got a strong cold front come through, and we're in the 70s today, and I think tomorrow we'll be in the upper 60s. So it's starting to feel like fall around here, and I think the mountains are getting their first dusting of snow.
Wow. Hey, Catskill, Brad. Hey, Brad.
Oh, hey, Brad,
Just
good to
showing
see you.
up, just in time to say goodbye.
Yeah.
Um.
So, that's the
Well, we
crazy
had.
stuff that's going on here in Colorado. We got that lawsuit going to try to keep Trump off the ballot, and it's like, if they must be so afraid of him that their ideas can't win over Donald Trump, even in a blue state like Colorado.
Well, I think it's more than that. I think to a certain extent this is psychological warfare. If they can hit him hard enough, they're hoping to what's the word I'm looking
drain his campaign money.
Well, no, I'm talking about the followers. They're looking to dishearten his followers. There's a better word for that, but
disenchanted.
Well, yeah, they're trying to take the win, because what would happen if all of a sudden 70 or 80 million people wrote in Donald Trump on the ballot? What would happen? Could they ignore that? Could they just say, "Oh well, it's a write-in. We don't have to, we don't have to look at that."
Right. No, that's a possibility. Brad wants to know, no Lloyd tonight. Judy is not feeling well. She has some breathing issues, and Lloyd has to, stay close to her. So, our thoughts and prayers are going out to Judy and Lloyd, and hopefully that'll resolve itself, and Lloyd will be back, and we'll have a show tomorrow night on Lloyd's show tomorrow. So we'll see about that. So what's going on in your state? Are they doing this same nonsense where they're trying to keep Trump off the ballot there as well?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think they're worried about that. My mom did tell me something that Hochul did recently. I can't remember what it is. It might be the busing of the immigrants into upstate New York from the city.
Right.
I think she's been doing that for quite a while.
Well, maybe they'll send them to Ben and Jerry's. They could go, oh yeah, this is good ice cream.
There's not many.
They could say, "Hey, we thought Chihuahua was cold in the wintertime. Boy, it is really cold up here."
Yeah. Yeah,
because Chihuahua is mountainous, and it gets pretty cold there as well.
I think it's like you and Lloyd were talking about last week, and what's that guy's name? Gary Hall, y'all, or something like that.
Ron Hall, y'all. Yeah.
Watched his forecast last night for the Northeast coming up with this very powerful El Nino.
Yep.
And he's thinking it could really be brutal this winter. So I'm already saying to my mom, we got to find some way to prep for this coming winter. I don't know what exactly we're going to do, other than buy way more bird seed for the birds. But we already got 2 freezers full of food. We've been stockpiling those funky foil bags of already like shredded chicken and tuna and stuff.
Oh, you mean MREs?
No. The stuff you can buy in grocery stores.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, you couldn't. The MREs and stuff. Well, for soldiers, it's one thing, but that Patriot brand that sells these, buy this bucket of food and it'll be 25. It'll be good for 25 years. Mm-hmm. One meal contains a toxic amount of sodium.
Oh,
so. Yeah, if you're only going to have that one meal a day and drink probably a whole gallon of water or more afterwards, then you'll be okay. But if you go trying to do 3 meals a day on that kind of stuff,
Right.
You know, you need to drink gallons of water every day. And if things are that bad that you've got to resort to these kinds of meals, where are you going to get 3, 4, 5 gallons of water a day?
Well,
So,
Cool
but no,
Cat made.
I'm talking about the, you know, the Bumblebee brand and
Oh
Starkist
yes.
brand. Yeah, it's just a little foil packet. It's like one serving, and
Right.
we've got probably 2 brown paper grocery bags, at least 3/4 full of those, lasting up until 2025 or 2026. So
There you go.
we've got stuff to eat. You know, we're going to need to lay in probably a lot of salt. You know, maybe a lot of windshield wiper deicer. We really need a new vehicle.
Yeah.
We really need to find a new vehicle. So.
Right. Well, maybe you use Prius.
No. No.
Well, Cool Cat, I think the word you were thinking of, disenfranchised.
No, because disenfranchised are people that are sort of on the fringe. They've been moved out of the franchise of a society. That's where they're disenfranchised. I think disheartened is what I'm thinking.
Disheartened,
Yeah, because like I said, it's almost like a psychological thing. If they can find a way to take down Trump, they're hoping
Right.
that all the Trump supporters will, you know, feel it in their heart, and it will somehow take the wind out of their sails. And in a way, that's stupid because, you know, reality is showing something very different. You know, the
Right.
more they try to take down Trump, the more popular he becomes, the more momentum he gets.
Yep. And also, they're trying to plant the seed that you know, that the elections are just they're fraud, and you know, trying to dissuade people that elections don't matter because you know, because they're really trying to put that seed in the mind of people that you know, we can't trust our elections anymore. How do I know my vote counted? And then people will start to stop voting. You know? Yep. Hello, Mike B, aka
Hey,
the
Mike
Drone
B.
Ranger. So we'll end on that note. I want to say good night to everybody in the chat. Thanks for coming, and you all have a great week. And hopefully, your football team has won today. So take care and God bless, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, y'all.
Good night, folks.